All right, have you ever hired someone who absolutely crushed their interview, but once they were actually working at the front desk, your bookings just completely tanked? And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to hire front desk help that not only sounds good, but they're actually able to convert patients and grow your cash practice. So, we're going to cover three things that will completely shift how you hire. Number one, I'm going to show you how you can go from having to choose from three kind of mediocre candidates to having your pick of the absolute cream of the crop best candidates available in your area. And then number two, I'm going to talk about the biggest red flag that you're probably missing in your interview process. And number three, how do I actually onboard and train these new hires so that I can get them up to speed to actually handle these insurance and cash objections as they come up? And so this is the same exact process and method that I've used for our virtual admin recruiting company. We've hired and placed over 100 admins, and we have over, sometimes 800, 900 people apply to work with us on every given month. And quite frankly, I was tired of someone who looked perfect on paper. We would place them into a practice, but they could not convert on the phone. And once I made this shift, our clients started having crazy results. We started to see more evals scheduled, less cancels and no shows, and package conversions continued to improve every single month. And so let's dive in. The first big problem when it comes to hiring front desk talent is we struggle to actually hire the right person from the get go. And the reason that most practice owners struggle to hire the right person is because they don't actually have a solid interview process. What happens is they make the mistake of interviewing 3 to 5 people because they're your time poor, and then we choose basically the least bad option. And that's not a great way to go about it. Instead, we need to cast as wide of a net as humanly possible, and we need to filter it down to only the top people that we actually want to talk to. Because what's worse than bringing in 3 to 5 people for the interview? You're like, I think this person's probably the least bad. I just need some help ASAP. And then in 6 months, this person continues to not be performing like you want them to, and you're back to square one. And because you're time crunched, you do the same thing over and over and over again. And I'm convinced that one of the biggest reasons we have turnover at the front desk, or it's such a high turnover position, is because we don't have a solid interview process to weed out people who aren't good fits and who aren't good culture fits for the practice. And so, how do I cast a wide net? I alluded to this in the start of the video. Is I have 800 or 900 people that apply to work with us on some months, and I could not frankly get anywhere remotely close to interviewing all of those people. And so what I do is I cast a really wide net, and I basically have steps and processes, a 4 to 5 step process to cut down those people so that I'm actually only interviewing top tier people. I only want to get in front of the people who I think could actually be good at answering phone calls. And you need to do the exact same thing. But I think some of you guys are scared or you're time poor. And so you don't think you're going to have time to actually get through the interview process. And so you just kind of you skip steps. You throw an Indeed ad up, you look, and it's like, all right, these are the 3 to 5 least bad candidates. Let's go with that. And I want to make sure that I leave no stone unturned because the best candidate's probably sitting in there somewhere. You just ultimately have to run them through the process. And so what you want to do is you want to have as wide of a net as possible. I need to have a prospecting portion of my funnel, right? And the way that we do that, you can use job boards, you can reach out to your local network, you can send it out to your email list. You can start talking to patients. You can utilize social media. You want to leave no stone unturned and talk to as many people as possible and let them know that you're hiring. And then from there, what I need to have happen is I need to be able to cast that wide net, but I need to cut down, or I need to have a step to cut down so I only know who's actually serious and who has the skill set to do this. And so you can use surveys, you can use videos, you can use questions in an email. There's that step that basically filters them from applying because anybody can apply, especially on Indeed. You click a button and you apply, right? I need to filter out the low intent people, and usually something like an email or a video or some combination thereof can go a long way. Now I have the opportunity to see personality, and something that I actually really like to do for the front desk is I actually like to do a group interview. I used to hate these early on. I didn't like the idea, but I thought I'd give it a shot just because of how many people were applying. And there's something interesting about group interviews where you really get to see someone's true personality, how they interact with people, and it really helps shed the light on how socially intelligent someone might actually be, right? Now, from there, I only and then only at that point do I start to move people towards a one-on-one interview. And that's the big thing that I'm looking for here is I only want to be talking to people who I think have a legitimate chance to be doing it. What most of you guys do instead, though, is you make the mistake of saying, "All right, these 3 to 5 people, I'll talk to them on the phone real quick, and okay, great. Well, let's move you in for a one-on-one interview," and then they like no show you, and it's like, wow, I had 3 hours blocked, and I had 3 people actually show up of the 10 that I wanted to talk to, and that's time expensive and it's just it doesn't actually move the needle for where you want to go, right? Because now you're getting canceled, you're getting no-showed by these candidates, and I'm talking to people who aren't even serious about working with you. And then the last step of this is I really want to have a way to test their skill set and to make sure that we can actually work together. And so maybe you bring some of these people in for a working interview and you actually get to spend some time. They see the office culture. They see kind of the things that aren't so good. They see the things that are good, and you know what you're getting into and they know what they're getting into. And ultimately that very wide net and dwindling that down only to top tier people really gives you the choice of, well, if that first candidate doesn't work out that I thought was a top choice and they showed up for the either the one-on-one interview or the working day interview and they just weren't as good as I thought they were. Now I have other people to choose from as opposed to me saying, well, I guess I'll choose the next least bad option, which again is going to set you up down the line in several months for not great success. Okay, so after we cast a wide net, it's critical that throughout this interview process, I'm picking out the things that are red flags or the things that aren't going to set our front desk up for success. And I think the number one red flag that a lot of people make, or the thing that they hire off of, is so many people want to hire off of experience. Oh, they've got prior front desk experience. And in my experience of hiring people at this point, we've trained to place hundreds and hundreds of admins. And honestly, experience usually of them working at the front desk actually isn't a good thing. They've just kind of perpetually got complacent and they've worked at the front desk. And then now you transition them to a cash or hybrid practice and they don't know how to have cash conversations with patients. It's, oh, yeah, when do you want to get scheduled? Oh, yeah, do you have insurance? Oh, no, we don't take your insurance. And it's these very poor conversations that ultimately don't convert and don't move patients into actually showing up, completing a plan of completing an eval, and ultimately wanting to purchase a plan of care. And so quit hiring on someone's experience. And the more important thing that I want to prioritize is what does their personality actually what's it like, right? The things that this continues to ring true, and the more and more people we place is all about their personality. I can't tell you how many people I talk to, and they're just like, "Hey, my front desk isn't warm. They're not inviting. I just feel like they just don't connect with patients. They're just very dry." And if we actually looked for that in the interview process, we wouldn't have had that problem. Because if somebody's warm and inviting, it'll invite patients in and you'll inevitably schedule some people just simply because of that warm, inviting personality. But if I've got somebody who has a dull personality and they have no skills to actually overcome insurance and cost objections, the patients aren't coming in, right? And so we want to prioritize someone's personality. So, what are some of the traits I look for? Warm, inviting, they've got some empathy, they have a high social IQ, meaning, they can kind of read the room a little bit. They really draw someone in as you're talking to them. And one of the that's what I love about the group interview or even a phone interview is it really allows you to hear their dynamic ability in their voice. If their tonality is very one note, they're gonna have a hard time. If they're one noted during an interview process, what's gonna happen in the middle of a workday after they've been working all day? They're gonna continue to be one noted, right? And we really want to make sure that the person that we're bringing on has that warm, inviting spirit, especially for these cash practices. You're trying to create a solid customer experience, and you're not going to be able to create a solid customer experience if your patient coordinator, the person talking to your patients, isn't warm and inviting. And so you want to filter most of what you're doing in the interview process through that one lens. What do they sound like on the phone interview? What do they sound like on the one-on-one interview? How's their personality when they're interacting with folks in the office and you guys are doing a kind of a working day interview per se? Those are the things that you can't teach. I don't care how much money you invest or spend on education, you cannot teach somebody how to be personable, right? You can teach them a little bit of charisma and you can teach them a little bit of those things, but ultimately it's a much harder skill set to change, and you're not going to ultimately have a solid ability to do that. And so it's best to hire solid personality. You can teach skills all day long, and this is why I don't really hire on experience. I especially find that if they've come from an in-network practice, they have a hard time inside of a cash practice. So pay attention to that and don't make that mistake. Now, the last piece of this is most practices when they bring people on, they get a warm body at the desk, they hand them a script or a manual, and they say good luck. And we don't have any clear process to onboard, measure progress, and actually make sure that we have a training plan to get this person where they want to go. And so there's nothing worse than, and this is typically the culprit when you bring a front desk on, they seem great, they're really engaging, and they do well, okay, early on, but then 2 months later, their progress starts to drop. And this is what happens to a lot of units because you didn't have a clear onboarding and a clear training plan to get this person where we want to go. And so, with that, we need to detail that out. We need to have a clear plan. No one thrives without a clear plan, and have this stuff written down so that we can actually work with this person on how we get them to where they want to go, which is scheduling more evals, they're showing up, and they're actually converting to a plan of care. And so that all starts with an onboarding and a training plan that sets them up for success, and it changes based on their skill set or how they're doing things. And so you want to lay that out over the course of 90 days at a minimum. And ideally, it extends even beyond that, where I'm actually going to sit, I'm going to meet with this person on a weekly basis, or maybe your office manager does, and we're going to listen to phone calls. We're going to look at the script. We're going to continue to modify and tweak things. And most importantly, we're actually going to measure numbers. Almost no one I talk to has clear metrics and defined roles for their front desk. And when they don't have any clear metrics, they don't have any defined clear goals, your front desk is going to aimlessly wander because they don't know what success is and they don't know how to fix it. They don't even know that they're doing a bad job. And when we can fix that information, that's ultimately what's going to move the needle and get them to the next level. And so, what does a clear training plan and what does an onboarding process look like? I think one of the biggest things is they need to know how to handle insurance objections. They need to know how to handle it at the beginning of the phone call. They need to know how to handle it in the middle if it comes up. And then lastly, they need to know how to prevent it by doing a solid discovery. Or if it does come up at the end of the phone call, how do I actually have some frameworks to be able to overcome it? And at a minimum, that's where some of that training plan needs to start. And it can look like role playing. It can look like writing scripts down. It can look like, listening to phone calls. You just need to figure out how that person likes to learn best, and you need to hit it from multiple different directions. And you can't just do it for 2 to 3 weeks. It's going to be something that's ongoing. My admin's been with us for 3 plus years at this point, and I sit down with her almost every other week where we just listen to phone calls. I just give her some feedback and I check in on how things are going. And ultimately, I have metrics to drive her success, and she knows what those look like as well. So, those are the biggest things that I like to look at when I'm thinking about working through it. And so, let's recap this a little bit. You need to cast a wide net. Many of you don't cast nearly of a wide enough net. And so, you're only getting kind of subpar candidates into interview, anyways. The next piece of this is we need to prioritize their personality over their experiences. And then lastly, we need to have a clear onboarding and training plan to actually get this person up to speed and where they want to go. And so now that you know how to hire the right type of front desk team that actually books cash paying patients for you, we need to make sure that we have an even more clear onboarding and training plan to actually get them up to speed and where they want to go, and especially the insurance objections. And so, if you will check out this next video on the screen, I will attach a video that will show you how to better overcome some of these objections and turn, hey, I need to think about it, or it's too expensive, or I need to use my insurance, into, hey, when can I come in? So, as always, we'll catch you guys on the next video.